Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. I'm Maya 2C and this is your latest news update from British politics, specifically Reform UK. Yet another senior resignation from the top of Reform UK. Howard Cox, the ex-London mayoral candidate for Reform UK, who also was the parliamentary candidate in Dover, an extremely important constituency considering the illegal migration wave. He has now resigned. Last night he released a short video. Today we have more information as Howard hopefully will be coming on the channel as well, but he did a quick interview earlier on Paul Thorpe's channel as well. Big shout out to Paul. And he explained roughly what the issue is. There's a bit of a turmoil right now going on inside Reform UK. One issue a lot of the members have is the Toryisation of Reform UK. Essentially, a lot of the Tories are joining Reform, and some of the Reform members are saying you need to vet their backgrounds, you need to scrutinise them and their position on policies, including situations like supporting the previous government policies, Rishi Sunak's government, on immigration, on net zero, on obviously the grooming gangs and everything else that of course the Tories use to betray the country. If people are coming from the Tory party, obviously you gotta have to see, did they support Rishi Sunak? If they did, hold them to account. And of course the issue of Tommy Robinson, the political prisoner who continues to receive a vile treatment from the prison system. Now, let's quickly go to the short video we have from Howard first. Then we're going to talk about other resignations, because Howard is not the only one who has resigned over the issue of obviously Tom Robinson, but also the Toryisation, as I call it, of Reform UK. Let's go to Howard.
Hello, I've decided to actually leave the Reform UK party. There are a number of reasons why I'm doing this, which will come out in the coming months. But the most important thing, by leaving the party, frees me up to talk about a number of political issues without criticism. I'd like to thank everyone who actually supported me in standing for London Mayor in London, and also down as an MP down in Dover and Deal. We should be proud of what we achieved, specifically in Dover, because we knocked the Tories into third place and we came second. So thank you for all your support. I look forward to seeing you in the coming months.
Of course, let's not forget Howard Cox became known for the Fair Fuel campaign, obviously, that he's been running. He wasn't necessarily party political. Reform UK approached him and asked him to stand as a London mayoral candidate, and obviously then he became parliamentary candidate. He did mention earlier today on Thorpe's channel that there wasn't much support even for his own campaign. There wasn't much recognition in terms of the leadership of Reform. When Nigel Farage came back, when Richard Tice was leader, he had more support, and obviously Tice was doing his own thing. But there are a lot of disagreements inside the Reform Party, and they still have a couple of years until the next general election campaign starts, if they want to get their act together, if they want to bring back unity, to fix the party, to not fall into the same trap as the Tory party did before. There was been some reaction, obviously. For example, a good one gone. Has Reform peaked and started stumbling towards another missed opportunity for real change? Resignations followed by ex-Conservative MPs joining, who should frankly be shown the door, make you wonder where this is heading. Nigel Farage has always been quite vocal and outspoken about the fact that he wants to always make sure he vets people's backgrounds when they join the party. Now, that hasn't always been easy. Obviously, one of their own MPs right now is still receiving a lot of criticism for domestic violence against his former girlfriend, or I don't know what she was, partner. But again, that was the challenges they had during the general election campaign in terms of the vetting process. But in general, they always say they want to vet people. They don't want to have people who are controversial or have supported the wrong policies. But they're bringing in Conservative Party members, senior MPs, who backed the net zero manifestos of the Conservative government. It doesn't seem consistent, let's just say. Now, when it comes to other resignations, we also had Andrew Southall, who also resigned as a local branch member of branch chairman of Reform UK. Howard Cox also reposted Andrew's video statement. This is also quite important. If we go quickly to Andrew Southall, he explains his own situation when it comes to also the Toryisation of Reform UK. Let's quickly go to Andrew's statement if we have it ready. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I thought I'd do a piece to camera following the post that I made yesterday. When the news broke that Marco Longhi, my former general election opponent, had defected from the Tories to join Reform UK as a member on Friday night, I found out in the same manner as everyone else. I had no forewarning, let alone an opportunity to comment on his recruitment. I entered into politics because I recognise that the United Kingdom is heading down a perilous path and needs a 180-degree change in political direction. Reform UK were only polling around 4% when I began working the seat of Dudley, and we managed to achieve a result of over 26% in a tight three-way marginal. During my campaign, my former opponent acted in a manner that I would go as far as to describe as contemptuous towards Reform UK, disparaging people from voting for Reform, and since the election many of his social media comments appeared to blame me and the party for him losing his seat, also stating that he did not see what good Reform would do with only 5 MPs. Also, if you'd like to search Andrew Southall, The Telegraph, you might find an article of interest. I therefore have to question the motives of former Conservative MPs coming across now that various seats in the UK are now turning turquoise in the latest MRP polling, something that I posted about being the case in Dudley only last week. Whilst I'm not alleging that anything has been offered to Marco or other defectors, I think Zia and or Nigel owe the grassroots and the membership an answer to the following question. Are favourable seats being offered to Tory defectors as a nailed-on promise? We've been told that branches will be able to vote on who their candidates will be in selection meetings. Whilst we are potentially some time away from the next general election, the question applies in both the case of parliamentary and council seats. The Constitution and Rulebook are not quite the finished articles in my opinion, and we need these details to be established. There are many people who are now branch chairs who are close to winning their seats as PPCs in the last general election, and they will be doing all of the donkey work on a grassroots level. I'm sure they will want to know that the selection process will be fair should they want to stand again. The grassroots actually are indeed the engine room of the Reform UK movement, and many of their current projected seats for Reform have been campaigned in heavily by those who believed in the movement from the start. My second question is, given that the Tories were absolutely woeful in 14 years of government, with many of their MPs having voted along party lines for much of the legislation that ails us today, or they stayed quiet or even worse, promoted the following things: net zero, the COVID pandemic response in its entirety, the war in Ukraine, activities of the World Economic Forum and adjacent organisations, controlling immigration, the rape gang cover-up, and many more. My question is, are Reform UK scrutinising defectors for these things? And if not, why not? The People's Army is a phrase that should have meaning, not the Tory 2.0 army. I say everything in this video as a staunch supporter and member of Reform UK who wants the best for this country. Thank you.
Well, that was Andrew Southall, the former branch chairman of Reform UK, and there is a bit of a problem for a lot of the local Reform candidates, because the same thing happened with the Brexit Party, by the way, in 2019 general election, when they were told to stand down to support the Conservative Party. It made sense, obviously, that at the time they were like, well, we have to stop Jeremy Corbyn. But right now, it seems to be, if you bring in ex-Tory MPs, well, Tory MPs who are now ex-Tory members, in the same constituencies that you already had a Reform candidate challenging them, and you're telling the Reform candidates now you should go away because we've got a Conservative one, it could be tricky. It's difficult to obviously balance that up. Let's not forget that Reform UK is still doing pretty well in the opinion polls. They're now neck and neck with the Labour Party, 25%, and Tories, I think they're on 22, 23. They've gone down a little bit again. Tories are now third. Obviously, it doesn't mean by default because of the first past the post system. There's been another post that Howard Cox also reposted saying, yes, I picked that up too back then. Very happy at Hancock's book launch. That's Richard Tice. It is patently obvious now, although I tried to deny it, that reform is to be the Tories 2.0. The question is whether it's just a rebrand or whether it's the Tories as they should be. I fear it's the former. I may be wrong, but there are some things that are starting to look way too cozy. I mean, I think it was quite clear from the messaging of Reform and Nigel that they want to replace the Tory party. So they want to be Tory 2.0, but there are two different versions, as the comment said. You could either be a better version of the Tories, which what the Tories were supposed to be. That's probably not a bad idea. Or just rebranding the existing one. Again, it is quite challenging. Ben Habib also supported Howard Cox, saying, I am not at all surprised, Howard. You are not alone in coming to this decision. There are many in the party who are increasingly disillusioned. You did brilliantly for the party in the London mayoralty and the constituency of Dover. So this continues, and obviously we will continue to report this. We still have a few years left to the general election. There's a super chat from Ivan, thank you, saying, seems that Nigel is splitting his own party and saying Reform are just turning into the Tories. There is some comments from the other side, the other perspective of this topic, which obviously we always show the other side as well. Mike Reform UK, a Reform supporter, says, 2C rage baiting for clicks again. I'm not even angry today. I'm very zen, very, very relaxed. So, and it's not for clicks. We're just reporting the news because Howard Cox resigned and he's released a statement. It's interesting because Mike, specifically Mike, and people like Mike, if I make a report saying there is a division inside the Labour Party and Labour members are not happy with Starmer, Mike would say, and people like Mike, oh, this is truth-telling. Yes, we have to tell the truth. It's correct that we have to report. This is unbiased reporting. But when I criticise their own parties, then you see the problem, right? They say, oh, now this is bias. Oh, how dare you? Simply reporting the news. And actually, I gave a shout out to Reform UK for still doing well in the opinion polls. Let's see what he says. Mike says, Reform are now joint lead in the polls. Exactly as I said. Why does this Persian bloke... Here we go. Of course, you have to bring identity politics into it. The identity politics obsessed people like Mike, they can't just move away from it. Why does this... Persian bloke keep bashing Reform? I'm not actually bashing Reform. I don't support any political party and I don't really oppose any political party. If they say, I'm repeating myself every day, but if tomorrow Keir Starmer does something right, I will praise him because, obviously you have to be objective. So, yeah, snowflakes would be melting down. Daniel says, a good man, Howard. Was it not Thomas More that said it... profits no man to sell his soul for a chain of office justice for Tommy Robinson and for all of the victims. Yes, amen. Now the comment says, the hypocritical way Farage is stealing Tommy Robinson's words while condemning him as a criminal makes me vomit. Weird. Templars says, Persian bloke. Persian bloke. I love that though. Funny. Reform beating Labour still doesn't mean they're good for us. Yeah, I mean, they're just doing well in the polls and or in the country. Doesn't mean you're by default a good party or a bad party. For example, the Tories were leading in the polls even until 2021, 2022. Did that mean the Tories were the good party? Just because you're doing well in the polls doesn't mean you have the right policies. It doesn't really mean you're a bad party either. And it just simply means that you managed to get more support at the time. Right. Do we have any reaction from Mike the Snowflake? Interesting. Not yet. I'll wait for him. It's fine. All right. David says, I was 100% behind Nigel Farage for many years. Recently has gone down to 30%. It's very specific. Super chat from Aaron Bacon saying Farage is doing exactly what he did in UKIP with his cronies. who were ex-Tory. His cronies drove UKIP into the ground. He wants a dictatorship. It says Aaron, and Wendy says Farage blackmail tape Toosey. What? I don't know what that is. All right. Lewis says, isn't Ann Milton taking his place? I believe, I don't know if it's been confirmed. Has it been confirmed? Ann Milton for the next election campaign in London? I did hear some rumours that he will be replacing Howard Cox. But Howard Cox had moved on from London. He was obviously focusing on the parliamentary side. So his last election was as a parliamentary candidate in Dover. Toosey is a huge Reform fan, really. He even had to ask Tice if he was a proper journalist. Unreal. What? Huh? That's interesting. I don't know what? It is interesting. So some Reform supporters said, my Toosey is a Tory. Some Tories say, my Toosey is Reform. And the others would say, my Toosey is UKIP. Like, what is my... I can't be everything at the same time, guys. It's the same with when we talk about geopolitics. They accuse me of being funded by Mossad, CIA, the Kremlin, the IRGC. I can't get... I mean, if I were to be funded by all of them, I will be a rich man. Anyway, Morton says, as a Norwegian, Norwegistan, I love that. As in Norwegistan, there are no difference between traditional left and right. If the Tory folks are infiltrating Reform, they are finished. Morton from Norway or Norwegistan. Love that. I love how we're just adding stan to all the countries. Alien Truth Seeker 666 says, 2CTV, why haven't you reported on the alien invasion that is happening? It's because I myself am one of the aliens who invaded. Why would I expose myself? It will be a terrible idea. Of course not. As a lizard from Mars myself, I am very sympathetic towards our friendly aliens. Aliens did nothing wrong. Rin says, 2C is reporting the news, I know, FFS. It makes no sense. If I were to do an opinion piece, an editorial piece, that you can say, okay, I don't agree with Maya's opinion or this. I'm just saying what they are saying. Anyway. Jeff says, hi Maya, I've just been watching June Slater. June is a lovely lady. You could see that she was getting upset last night's votes was a blot on our history. Shame on them. Yeah, let's not forget about what's actually happening in the country when it comes to the parliamentary class. Absolutely disgusting. Old Steve says, that Persian bloke, that's me, is more British than most. British is not just being born here, it is a cultural thing, or it's an attitude thing. I could never claim to be Anglo-Saxon ethnically. Look at this. I don't have to waste money on tanning salons or tanning sprays or whatever. So I save money. I'm automatically tanned. It helps. But yeah, the attitude, obviously. We love Britain. Anyway. Where are we? Do we have any more? Yeah, 2C for alien lizardry. Yes. King of the lizards. AFC Manica says aliens invade England every bloody day. True. On boats from France. Those French aliens. Exactly. Love that, AFC. Nia says, 2C, thank you for keeping us there in America informed on what is happening there. Thank you very much. Let's see. I think we have a couple of super chats which I've been ignoring. What is this? The Persian is a legal alien, I hope. Oh, I hope as well. Well, I did come on British Airways business class to Heathrow, so I did have paperwork as a kid, by the way. I did. Super chat time. Will you do a podcast? I think that's podcast on how to unite the right wing. Well, I'm not really a political activist to do that. I mean, I could get someone to do it and post it on 2CTV, probably. Those who want to unite the right, absolutely, I can try that. Because obviously I'm still right wing. So even if I'm not political myself, I'm still, obviously, I believe in conservative values. Ivan says, the trolls are lacking a brain power today. Today? Ivan? Every day. Rhiannon says, alien lives matter. Yes. ALM. Hashtag ALM. Terrier Girl says, stop bashing Maya. He's just reporting the facts. No, let them do it. It's fun. Let them bash Maya. I sound like a masochist. Templar says, Tusi was a Tory member too. I remember. Yeah, I was actually a candidate. I was young and naive. So that was when most people were Tory anyway. Well, I don't. There were some people who were UKIP. But yeah, I was in fact a member of the Conservative Party. And they don't grow up. Laura says, thanks for all you do, Maya. It can't be easy. Yes, Tommy has to be respected for what is done, surely, and not bad-mouthed at all the time. Especially when he can't defend himself from prison. Old Man on Guitar says, I support Tommy. He stood by his principles, even though it meant prison. Also, it doesn't really necessarily mean you have to support everybody based on everything they say and they do. Tommy and I would still have some political differences in terms of policy ideas and stuff like that, especially mostly about foreign policy. But not only is he still a friend, because that's about civility. You can disagree with someone politically on some issues. You can still be friends. But also, I still agree with the majority of the work he's done. And he's not a perfect character, but in the past. He's grown up, but obviously even he admits he wasn't the best. He didn't make the best tactical moves in the past. I mean, who has? All these politicians are going around criticizing someone like Tommy for being imperfect. Oh yeah, because they're all a bunch of angels doing coke in their parliamentary offices. They're taking prostitutes home and many other things. So you can't talk, guys. You can't talk. So fascinating. Anyway, I believe it is time to say goodbye. Try not to cry, guys. Don't forget, we've now reached, exceeded now 750,000 subscribers. So in order to celebrate, we're going to give you guys a 50% discount. If you join 2C TV Plus annual memberships, go on 2C.tv, use the promo code WIN50 because we are winning and we are not tired of winning yet. Very humble. 2C TV is the most humble channel. Anyway, go on 2C.tv. The link is also in the description. Limited offer. I'm Maya 2C and we are the media.